Airbnb will give you data. They will give you really helpful data that helps you understand what is actually happening with your listing. If you're on your Airbnb account, you go over to your Insights tab and then you find the data. It's going to show you your conversion rates on, and you can change the time frame that you're looking at for every listing that you have. And you can see, okay, here's the percent of time that I'm showing up on the first page. Here's the percent of time that I am having people who see my listing on the front page, who then click on my listing. And then when people get on my listing, it'll show you the conversion data for people being on my listing to clicking the book button. And then it'll show you the data of people who actually land on my book checkout page who then don't actually book. And the reason I bring this up is because I think oftentimes people think that the reason that they're not getting bookings ultimately and 100% of the time is a pricing problem. And I strongly disagree with that. You can be priced significantly below what your market data average is. But if people don't like your photos, if people get to the checkout page, and this recently changed with the way that Airbnb just kind of restructured the way that they do their checkout page. But a couple months ago, you would see all the different fees. You would see the cleaning fee. You would see, if there was a quote unquote management fee on there, whatever, if that host had added on, you would see all of that. That all gets averaged out and added onto the daily rate now over the length of whatever that booking window is. But if people saw all these fees, they may have liked your listing. They may have liked daily rate itself when they saw it on the search page. But then when they get to the checkout page, it's all of these different fees that then push them over the edge and say, I don't want to book this. And so each one of those different metrics tells a different story, and it's not always a pricing problem. You could have really great pricing. You could be showing up really well on the front page, but if your listing photos aren't very good and people aren't clicking on your listing, it doesn't really matter what you're priced at. And so keeping those things in tension of what's my pricing at, what's the data suggesting and the psychology behind that, I think these different things then help you overcome some of these slower times of the year. Now, I would still recommend you have to wade through that through the context of what is my risk tolerance? Do I have the tolerance to be able to go through different seasons of the year where maybe my revenue is low? Maybe my occupancy was low because it's just a hard time of year. Like for me, February and March are just tough months. And we have to really be digging into the data and tweaking things as much as we can. But it's a tough time of the year. And some people may not have the risk tolerance to be able to handle those drastic fluctuations between, a property in February doing $1,500 a month and that same property in July doing $14,000. That's a big range that they may not be able to handle. And if their mortgage is $4 or $5 grand, they're looking at that. If they haven't planned appropriately, if they've blown all the cash, that's a tough conversation to have. That's a tough time of the year. And so I think that's the kind of overarching frame that you also have to have when it comes to these off seasons. It might make sense. I have clients like this